Всем добрый день.
Hello everyone. We will present to you a new presentation by the Eurasian Development Bank about the Eurasian Transport Backbone. And we have suggested this term 3 years ago to note connectivity of our countries and the entire region. And this is the potential for the growth of our economy, for the freedom of movement, and to grow our export and import flows. So we are happy that this term is actively used by the media and the authorities. And we hear this from the speakers at other events, this term, transport carcass. So I'd like to call our chief economist, deputy chairman, Evgeny Vinokurov, and his colleague, Alexander Zaboyev, head of the Center for Integration Studies, for their presentation. Evgeny, please proceed to the pulpit, or I will give you my microphone so that you can move on the platform. Dear colleagues, hello again. This is our main presentation of this year. We have formulated this terminology, Eurasian Transport Carcasses, and we offer to you the detailed concept on what is Eurasian Transport Carcasses, or a backbone. It's a network, or agreed. We thought about this terminology. It's a network of aligned corridors. They are cross-crossing from west to east and from north to the south. They are both following meridians, and they provide connectivity inside the sub-regions, inside the South Caucasus and Central Asia, and also transcontinentally throughout the Eurasian huge continent. So it's not about the Eurasian Economic Union or CIS, but it's about connectivity on the Eurasian continent as a whole. If I would fragment the most important thing, it's the synergy. Our region historically is focused on the connectivity west to east. That's how it historically is formed. But now there are corridors north to south. And this is a total change of the playing field and new opportunities, especially for the regions where this connectivity happens, the Central Asia and Caucasus, and the anterior Asia. So a lot has been mentioned, and we cooperate with our colleagues. So we're happy that we would be making some milestones in this area. We have formed 10 structure elements of the Eurasian transport carcasses. So these reports are now available. They will be officially released. You can quote them. And we've made 23 maps and diagrams in high definition up to A1. You can print them, and they're available on our website. So we've shown in these maps the current state of the Eurasian transport backbone and the vision for the 30 years. So what we see now, and our estimates are confirmed by practice, the western corridor and Traseka has given us 40% traffic to Turkey, just because two corridors have crossed. And Central Asia obtains the new chance from a landlocked region to become a transport hub. And you are a professional, you understand that it's a poetic metaphor that first we need to alleviate transport remoteness and work as a transport hub and earn money. Agro-industrial nexus, including Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan, and bank members can cater to 600 million people. And that means that we are a significant source of calories for 3 billion people around the world. And these calories are the products needs to be delivered to the markets. And the north to the south corridor is prioritizing on agri-industrial complex because we work with the Middle East, India, and another area, number 5 here. Each time when there is a new set of instability in the Arabian world, Arabian Peninsula, our corridors works as an insurance for the world logistics. The corridors should be thankful to us because every time when the freight increases from Shanghai to Rotterdam for 4,000 plus, our region becomes highly competitive as to China to European Union. So it's insurance for global transport chains. The Eurasian Transport Framework allows to cut structural disbalance in the geography of trade. All models, the trade Russia, India, Central Asia, India, there is a consensus that India with our country is lacking trade 3 times due to substandard logistics. And when the opportunity arises from 40 days to transport for 17 days and to reduce costs 2 times, this gap for transport and logistics with India and Western Asia will be reduced. And now our region trades very small amount with India. So meridian corridors, land corridors, could solve this problem. So in our report, we pay a lot of attention to the neural hubs. If you can go one slide further, in the Eurasian Transport Frameworks, there are 6 types of rail gauges. So Spanish and Japanese gauges are not impacting Eurasian Transport Framework. So now it's not a big problem because there are a lot of technical ways of moving goods from one gauge to another at the border crossings. So within 4 hours, this could be done while the goods are being inspected by customs. So when kalium fertilizers can be shipped to Iran in one wagon without multimodal transshipments. Also, our soft infrastructure as a banker and policy authors of state policies, we always attract attention that if resources are very limited, and if time is constricted, then every investment has a multiplier effect rather than money invested in physical infrastructure. So we give a lot of numbers. There are UNCITRAL numbers, our own numbers, and the bank numbers, which confirm that the soft infrastructure needs to be dealt with. Here I'd like to emphasize that this was shown on practice by the Single Operator Institute, at least when the corridor is being shaken. The break, the seamless tariff or rate simplifies everything. Also, electronic document flow is used, and it's much better rather than constructing just new lines. Thank you. I give the floor to Alexander. Thank you, Evgeny. Since time is limited, let me talk about 5 main Eurasian corridors that everybody is talking about, and let me switch then to the future. The oldest Eurasian corridor is Northern Eurasian Corridor, which is Trans-Sib by railway, and a parallel highway. This corridor is the main now for the volume of container shipments. And the main conclusion is that container shipments are increasing, and container shipments start to be used for many goods that traditionally were not transported in containers. The Russian-Chinese border crossings show that from China it's wheat and cars coming from China to Central Asia and Russia. The corridor is based on the Western Polygon project implementation, but regardless of high movements of coal or not, we see in this corridor a big gap for the container shipments using Far East ports and the border crossings on the Far East. Central Asian corridor is Eurasian corridor is the shortest and the most efficient route to deliver containers from China to EU. And as to container transit, almost 100% of shipments from Russia to China, China to Russia, or EU to China. And since this corridor, as well as Transeka and Trans-Caspian route, they are using the same border crosses, including the corridors that I have mentioned, and that would lead to capacity constraints. So we need measures not only to upgrade those border crossings, but to develop alternative border crossings with China that would alleviate this existing number of threats. Traseka corridor, it's difficult to overestimate this corridor. For the connectivity in the Central Asian region and the South Caucasus. Based on the international shipments, it's amassed in Armenia and Azerbaijan, Tajikistan. And when we talk about shipments, it's important to provide for the social component. These highways are important for this tourists to travel. So this is possible without high quality roads. We see that in the national plans of Kazakhstan is to have a a high-scale program on creating a corridor group, and this will increase the mobility and tourism, and there will be additional effects in all sectors, from gas stations to the public catering and hotel business. Traseka is the most difficult as to the multimodality. There are different overloads at the Caspian and Black Sea. So Traseka government has done a lot to simplify the procedures, to develop the infrastructure, and now we have combined our efforts. Trans-Caspian International Corridor, it's a new star. It's within the Traseka company. We need to use this for the China and Turkey. Turkey is motivated in this corridor. It's keen to develop it, to develop the ports in Aktau and Kurik. The second lines to be installed, and all of that is possible is to increase the number of goods to up to 10 million tons. Talking about other corridors, there is Southern Corridor, which goes through the South Asian countries. I'm not going to dwell on this. It's quite important now to provide connectivity to Pakistan, where it's from north-south corridors, west to east. And these corridors will allow us to move further along Eurasian. In 2021, 2022, we planned that the shipments would amount to 28 million tons. But the life became better than all our forecasts. So our forecast is $32.5 million. This corridor is important as to its multimodality. The river transport is important to deliver wheat to Caspian ports. As Evgeny said, it's quite important the role of corridor in providing food security and safety and export of wheat and other agricultural goods. There are some challenges that are related to the procedure of border crossing with the border crossings on the ships. We've all mentioned this in our report. And finally, I'd like to dwell on the prospective projects. There are now a dozen of initiatives and projects to provide for the connectivity. It's Trans-Afghan corridor, which should connect Central Asia with Karachi. The distance between Dushanbe and Karachi is 1,500 kilometers. It's the shortest distance from Tajikistan to the seaport, and it's very important for the landlocked country. And there are other corridors. The corridors towards south, the west, in the western and eastern Savach for this destination, and also the Bakhti border crossing, whether we need the third line for the future. In transport, the demand for is always behind the supply in transport.
Increase of transportation from China has loaded up in 2020-2021 the Eurasian network completely fully. What what's going to happen if these flows increases by 10%. So additional transportation capabilities are required. Let's talk separately about each of these items. The new transborder crossing in China and Kazakhstan border will allow to increase the container transportation up to 1.5 million of containers. Another example, Trans-Mongolian connections. Connections with West Siberia, with China and Mongolia, transportation of coal, unloading, reducing amount of cargo in this direction. Afghan corridor. It has to be interoperation with the same network which exists now. It will have the same width of rails, and this is very critical because it won't require to do the unloading and loading again. The new railway road Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan. Long time negotiations include interoperation. This project is going to be implemented according to the model of transborder agreement. The parties have already signed the corresponding agreement, and implementation of this important project is starting. Another corridor which is passing through Afghanistan in Mazar-e-Sharif, which meets with Trans-Afghan corridor, which will connect countries of South Caucasia, Turkey, and the element of Lazarit corridor. Another important project that I mentioned already, the connection with East Siberia and connection with northern provinces of China. The project is important because the volume of transportation increases, and it cannot cover the demand. That is why such transborder crossing is necessary, and it will cover the demand in this direction. And I won't be discussing the bottlenecks. Transport is like electricity. You cannot reduce the voltage on one part of the line and having it working in other lines. You can remove the bottlenecks, but very soon you will have another bottlenecks on the other areas. That is why it requires comprehensive approach to implementation of such project, and we shall consider not only specific sections, but we have to consider the entire transport corridors in order to provide cargo transportation from one point to another one. We will discuss investment projects on the session that is going to start in the neighboring hall. That is why I'm not going to stop on these projects. The only thing I want to mention is the soft infrastructure. Soft infrastructure, there are three main components. The first is harmonization, the second is coordination, and the third is digitalization. Harmonization allows to reduce the losses for carriers and for users. Using the specific items reduces very much the transportation, and such harmonization instruments allow seamless transportation. That is why it reduces the cost of transportation and the final cost of the final product coordination. Evgeny mentioned unite operators, transparent tariffs, coordinated work of transborder points for all countries. That are close to China. They have to work during the same hours. They shouldn't be closed for breaks and so on. And digitalization. It was very popular subject and topic. And I can say only that digital documentation, using of digital tools such as preliminary information. It's not only transport electronic documents. This is mostly related to auxiliary infrastructure, digital work of transborder crossings. It requires specific tools, specific software, and that is why united efforts of two countries. You cannot make ideal conditions in one country and without having the same ideal conditions in the another country. It just won't work. That is why auxiliary infrastructure is very important for the Eurasian Transport Network. It is very important, and we have to focus on it. And in our report, we also emphasize this particular topic. And to finalize my speech, I'd like to mention that digital instruments and other elements of soft infrastructure allow to have high economic value, reduce the time for transportation, reduce the idle time of transportation companies. These are real money for the business. It is related for motor transport, for railway transport, for sea transport. That is why when we talk about development of corridors in Caspian region, in Central Asia, we of course bear in mind the port procedures, port infrastructure, and land transportation has to be within the reach. And this is essential for transport and expeditory business. With this, I'd like to finish my speech. I'd like to invite you to move to the neighboring room to keep another discussion, and we will be happy to reply all questions tomorrow when we will have sessions of questions and answers. Or maybe if you have questions during the transport session, which will start in several minutes.